And live.
And we're live.
And there we go. I was waiting for it to show up on my screen over here because now that I actually have two screens again, thank goodness.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to Echo Chamber, the session in which we talk about other sessions. I feel like that's not my intro, or the session in between sessions. I don't remember my intro.
You know what? I'm a big fan of the session in between sessions.
It rolls off the tongue, the session in between sessions, but then I always feel bad because we talk about doing an actual 1 hour session in between sessions, so I don't want to overlap that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that becomes a session. So this is the session in between sessions.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
That is a good way to look at the session in between sessions.
Yeah.
Technically, every session is in between every other session, so you're never right and you're never wrong.
That is an excellent way to put it, and I'm going with it. Session in between sessions, as long as I can remember it. All right, so last session, and I think we can kind of add the boat in, I believe. So last 3 sessions, we'll say, which encompass 2 battles. The boat in which we thought we could take down a frost giant boat. We'll leave that alone. And then we decide we know where 3 frost giants are. Let's go mess them up. And we do our due diligence just to find out that we were getting played.
Yep.
We were getting played. They knew where we were. They were somehow incommunicado, or something was going on. I don't know what it was. Whether that it was just our sense of smell. Griswold smells a little funny. I get it. Or if the ones on the boat communicated. But then again, if the ones on the boat communicated, how would they know?
Do we have a plant in our group?
I like where your head's at. I'm getting into your head because that would be something I would say, right?
Yeah.
I did happen to drop a little morsel there. Emrook may be a little suspicious of Warwick.
Yeah.
How does Adrian feel about that?
How does Adrian feel about that? He's a little bit.
Sorry, you were cutting out there. He's a little suspicious of Warwick too, you said?
No, of Reed.
Oh, of Reed. All right.
Yeah. But I don't remember if what Ryan told us in character versus out of character.
That's what I've been going about it as, that we actually don't know that Reed has any sort of pact. We do know that Warwick talked to the bitch, though, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you do not know that Ryan stayed behind. That was Ryan out of character, not in it. He intentionally lagged a bit. Oh, excuse me, bug.
Yeah.
Oh, little protein. All good now.
He ate a bug.
Oh. All right.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
You hate to see it.
You hate to see it.
If I kept my mouth closed a little more often, it wouldn't happen.
I mean, like you said, a little bit of protein. So Griswold, I can never tell if it was Griswold or Evan kind of stuck up for him and said give him the benefit of the doubt, but...
Hey, real quick, I'm going to disconnect and reconnect again. I got some crazy audio coming through. One quick second.
All right, no worries. We're going to keep going. And I'm just curious how Siddle and the others feel. Reed, I feel like Reed and Adrian really made a connection this past time. I don't know where that came from, but I loved it. Ryan, if you watched this at some point, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was fun.
All right,
me and Ryan,
let's try that.
Me and Ryan, you sound okay on this end.
Yeah, you guys are kind of robot-y to me, so I'm just wondering if I've got bad connection here while I'm walking.
Oh man, maybe it'll be like that one time, that one Echo Chamber session in which my voice got real high-pitched robotic.
Yes, it kind of sounds like the start of that before it goes high-pitched.
I hope so. And then later on,
we'll see. I'm
talking to myself.
No, I was talking to myself.
Oh, they could only hear you? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. We rolled with the punches.
Yeah, no, that was cool with Ryan.
Yeah,
we don't get to.
It surprised the hell out of me. I don't know how G Money feels about it, but I did not expect Ryan. Ryan was on point. He was playing along quite a bit, jumping on the Frost Giant's belly, having the RP with Adrin, calling us all dumbasses or fuckwads or something to that effect. I believe it was fucking idiots, but anyway, yeah, he was on
Oh, it was
point.
beautiful. I loved how he was getting into it this time.
It definitely felt a little bit more engaged. I enjoyed it. And like I said, I really enjoyed Adrian and Reed's connection because it was almost like it was kind of weird, but at the same time, Reed was positive, and it was like,
No,
that's different.
Yeah, right.
I enjoyed it.
it was nice to see how engaged he was and how well he played the role there.
Yeah. I mean, he diffused the situation. Although, be honest with me, Harshnag wasn't gonna fight us for me calling him Harshy Poo.
So I'll be honest, he was not going to fight you, but he may have dispersed from the party right after that. I had a timer going down for how long he basically separated from the group and said, "Hey, glad I could help. Best of luck to you."
Nice.
And not just for the Harshy Poo. You know, it was a little bit of abuse of his kind. He certainly understands one thing, but abusive behavior. He doesn't know the entire good that the Phandalin Phive has done. On based on the end of one fight, you guys were a little psychopathic.
A little punchy.
I mean,
Yeah, you punching the hell out of him for the interrogation, slicing before it even got started, bouncing on his stomach. It was a little crazy. I'm trying to look at it from his perspective of not knowing the history of the Phandalin Phive. You guys basically got him, tied him down, and started bouncing on him, slicing, beating.
let's talk about that.
That's why Adrian walked. That's why Adrian walked away, because he knew that this was not a good place for him to be at. So he was like, you know what? I'm going to go venture off over here and see what I can go find. They do all that.
Yeah, I wanted no part of the interrogation at all.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, you guys both stepped away, and you let the minor psychopaths of the group at it.
Which that was the one time where I was kind of like, Warwick probably should be upping this and not Griswold.
Yep.
Especially since it was in common. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. I again, that's why Adrian walked away. But I think if he was there, I think it was a little questionable on the interrogation tactics.
That's exactly what I want to talk about. So that was next on my notes, actually. So I'm a little confused. Help me out here. Does vengeance include part of an interrogation? And this is out of game. Evan, if you go back and watch this, we're not ragging on you. We're just talking in general about it. Does vengeance include interrogation? Because I feel like vengeance is a... Go ahead.
You can interrogate. It's just how you interrogate.
Well, I guess I'm not questioning the interrogation process as much as questioning the vengeance, because in my mind, vengeance is more of a retaliation. So something happens, you get pissed off, you take out your vengeance, that's it. At that point in time, when you have let others, other Frost Giants get away, you might still be fuming a little bit, but you made the conscious decision to let them go away. Therefore, your vengeance has come down enough. In my mind, vengeance doesn't carry over for that. Again, it's all in your way you want to play the character. There's no wrong way to play it. It was just, I don't know. That's my thought process.
Yeah, there's some questionable acts there, I think. But yeah, like you said.
It's interesting, and I love that you bring up that question, because I've waffled or debated this internally for the balance of the campaign, really, is how do you define vengeance on a situational basis? Frost Giant raids a town, destroys it, murders, and then flees. You hunt them down. Is that vengeance for the town? Is it only personal vengeance? At what point is murder allowed and defined as vengeance rather than revenge and or needless violence? It's an interesting line that I thought was a little bit clearer until I started having to make that call. And I can almost justify it in some cases. Some cases I feel like I make a good case for it. But it's interesting once you start defining what is vengeance and vengeance for who. And what would be allowed. And so it's something I constantly try to waffle on. The number of searches that I've done to define vengeance in my Google searches is amazing. How different people define it, how the formal definition of it, legally how it's been defined, how it's defined in Farron, and it's just a very interesting concept. It's such a fine line in so many areas.
So you make a good point. Like you start to think about vigilantes and like stuff like that. Like most of them have some sort of code that they live by. You know, whether that be like a Hammurabic code, an eye for an eye, or whether that be like a Batman vigilante style, where no guns, no killing. Here's what we do. Like there's a code. There's vengeance, but then there's a line you don't cross, and maybe we just haven't found that line yet to define it. I don't know.
Yeah, and I would say, Griswold's code has varied at times. I don't know if it's ever gotten concrete enough to be able to draw that line. And maybe that's something that Griswold's character development leads to, is drawing the line of what his code officially is for vengeance. And maybe it's when he finds himself crossing a line he didn't think he would.
I mean, I thought it was going to be the line was drawn whenever we left the keep after killing.
Yeah.
Killing people in the I forget what the keep was called there, but yeah, I thought that's where the line was, and we were like, okay, we're not going to cross that line again. Xanthar's?
Xanthar's keep, yep.
Yeah.
So, and I will say there's been a line drawn on 2 occasions I can immediately think of, which he backed off from what he was thinking of doing. So I will say he has a line in the code.
Okay.
I don't know if it's always concrete, but there's definitely a point in which he has changed his decision making based on this discussion, based on the definition of how he finds vengeance. So it's been interesting. Some behind the scenes stuff.
Oh, there's definitely thought process behind it. Don't get me wrong. Like he's always thinking about like, okay, Griswold's pissed off, so this is what he would do. He's constantly thinking about that. So there's no wrong way to play the character. We just try.
Oh no, not at all.
Vengeance like you did. So
I find the depth of it and the moral ambiguity a little bit interesting. Even though it's a game, it certainly makes you think.
It kind of makes me want to play like somebody like that who has a well-defined code and just see how that works. Like it does. It intrigues me a little bit, and like I would probably follow like Hammurabi's code or something like that. That way I had a guideline and then branch off from there a little bit. But it's interesting for sure.
Yeah, I agree, and I'll tell you who plays that code well based on discussions we've had is Ryan, as we talked about a little bit earlier, and based on previous discussions. Like he has his definition, and he really tries to maintain that balance faithfully of true neutrality.
Yep.
I think Reed's code is more of a connection, and that sounds weird, but hear me out. Like if Reed talks to you and you respond and have rapport and stuff, you're in Reed's code. But if you refuse, he writes you off, and he's not going to risk his life for you.
Mm-hmm.
This is true.
Yeah.
I don't know. I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed the fact that every time we go and interrogate, he comes in and cuts something. He's like, I slice his calf. I'm like, it cracked me up.
Yeah, it's funny, and I'm always trying to determine, like, would this improve the intimidation, or is this like, oh man, let's just end it quick if these guys are ruthless? I try to figure out how the characters are going to interpret that. These guys are batty. Do I want to cooperate? Or am I screwed either way?
That's true. And so how do you play that? Like for me, the whole interrogation process, I was thinking this guy knows he's going to die. Why would he give up anything? So what
Right.
goes
Yep.
through your head as DMs? Either one of you can take this in an interrogation process like that. I mean, it does depend a little bit on the character, but for me, a lot of the time, they're bad characters. Chances are they know they're going to die. They're not giving you anything.
Um, yeah, you're right. It
Unless you
depends.
offer them the possibility to live.
Yeah, I allow the die to sometimes decide that fate though too. I'll ask for an intimidation check or a persuasion check or whatever, and depending on how well you do or don't do, depends on how much information you get. In a general sense, but there's other situations where, yeah, it depends. Like, I guess it depends if like how loyal the bad guy is, sort of thing.
True. Or
Does he
how
give up that
fearful.
information?
Yeah.
Yeah, but usually, usually you take in the lower ranking guys, and they'll tell you whatever they'll want to hear.
That's true.
But
I didn't think about that.
But also, they don't always have they also don't always have the inside info either. So
Right. What about
So
you,
I've
Jim?
always looked at it as, once you guys go from there, you switch from persuasion to intimidation, and there's always the fear of, well, this death could be worse. And so it comes, and that's why once you've sliced them, at what point is the plunging them doing more? So it becomes an interesting dynamic.
yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
that's a valid
Finnegan's made a
point.
friend. So yeah, I usually, at disadvantage at that point on the persuasion, or I raise the DC on persuasion,
Yeah.
but decrease it on intimidation,
Okay.
and
That's
then let the die do the determination.
It's a cool way to look at it, and I like it.
Yeah.
All right.
And again, like Eric said, actually, and I probably haven't put enough faith in that as well. How loyal are these guys to their overlord? We'll call them. Where's the loyalty fault? What do they have to gain? How are you guys approaching it? How much animosity was there previous to this interrogation? I mean, is there hatred there? Is there revenge? What is it? So I try to weigh that into it. But yeah, I mean, interrogations have been tough, and not necessarily one of this group's strong suits, despite all the balances that you guys have. Your best interrogators don't necessarily have your best highest adjustments, and your worst interrogators typically do, and so it creates this weird balance of you guys approaching them chaotically in a lot of ways, and it makes it tough. If I'm trying to play it true, it does make it tough sometimes for me to want to do lore dumps or dumps from enemies. I always have a lot of information behind it, and it's like, man, I don't think I'd be giving up information in this unless it was really painful.
Right. That's kind of where my mind went, but you guys convinced me otherwise with the dice rolls and persuasion versus this could be slow and painful death. So yeah, okay, I get that. Speaking of lore dumps, great job, G Money, using Harshnag to lore dump. Oh my gosh, that was a lot.
Yeah, that was good.
And you know what? I really enjoyed it. I know Evan usually takes charge because if we pause momentarily, he can't help himself. He's got to move forward. And I know he can't help that. That's not his fault. But this time I wanted to kind of jump in and talk to this guy because I felt like Harshnag, showed me some respect. You know what I mean? I got a little compliment, so I wanted to jump in there and do that. And gee, you did a great job dumping all of that. I enjoyed it. How fun was it for you to get to throw those shiny toys out there?
Oh man, that has been a year and a half in the making. I have wanted a verbal diarrhea so many things, so many times, and yet I've tried to hold true to what people would actually know, and knowing Harshnag would be the one that knew more than most about certain things ongoing. So yeah, that felt so good after holding a lot of that stuff back for so long and giving you guys. I wanted Harshnag's appearance to really give you more insight into the giant mentality from someone that you can build a relationship with. of course, depending on how things went, but that you were able to build a relationship with. And yeah, I thought it was worthwhile. I really enjoyed that. I hoped you guys did too.
I did.
Yeah, no, that was good.
Like you
Yeah,
gave us a little Nasana lore dump, where she was like giving us her master plan before the fight type deal. But this one, I partially because it was a little bit of Amrook's lore, but just having Harshnag be able to tell us about everywhere, you know what I mean? I just
Mhm.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And it's fun as a guy that has been involved in this, kind of on parallel paths with you, also exploring different facets of this in the same way, the same goal aligned in a lot of ways, that has learned different things with a different approach. It was fun and relevant on what I could give, and actually applicable, not just me railroading lore down.
Right.
Yeah, right. Right.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but he's going to travel with us a little bit more, so we will have a little bit of time to talk to him. Are we using the campfire chat to do so, or would you prefer to do that? Because I was gonna, as soon as Evan said that on Monday, I was gonna drop in some questions to Harshnag, and I was like, maybe we should do that on or in session just in case more lore.
By all means, feel free to drop it in Campfire Chat, and we can happily cover it all again in game. One, I appreciate it because I get a little bit of time to better phrase things and make it more relevant. But also, I like the fact that as you guys think about it, I kind of timed the location at the end of the session accordingly so that you could have time in between the evening and the morning to think of those questions, absorb a lot of stuff over the course of the week, re-listen, and see what other questions come, because it's not necessarily set yet on whether or not he continues with you. I mean, I guess that's something to be determined.
Right. I just remember, we had talked about it going to this other group and taking care of it. And so if that was the case that he came with us, I thought it might be a good opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's certainly the chance of it, and then sort of depends on you as how you guys want to handle it, as well as the roles. I have no set illusions for how Harshnag moves on from here. In fact, I have no set illusions for how Harshnag met you guys here. You forced my hand on that one. So
I will take full blame for that, but at the same time, I will take full respect for that because pulling Harshnag in and being able to give you that lore drop, I'm cloud 9, buddy.
oh, still one of my favorite moments is pulling that move. You want to talk about one of the few times that I was truly taken aback, surprised with the unexpected? That was definitely one of them.
I'm no Laura Bailey, but I occasionally get something right. You know what I mean?
No, that was beautiful, and I'm glad. I thought it actually it was a little earlier from what I expected, but I think it actually turned out to be a really good time for that lore dump for the story. I felt like you guys were kind of at that point that you had tentacles out there, but didn't quite know how anything fit in. It was probably overdue for a little bit bigger picture action there.
One more question
Yeah,
about. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think Adrian has more questions than anything, but they're not for Adrian. I mean, they're not for Harshnag. They're for whoever. Like, how's it all? How does it all work together? How does it? There's like you said, there's so many tentacles, and
You know what?
they're all connected somehow.
Yeah, and I'll throw this out there. It's interesting. I think it was the last echo chamber I wasn't able to make, and the one that actually probably died off a little sooner, or the previous. I can't remember which one it was, but you guys really dug into the details of what questions are still out there and open, and how the bigger plot is. And you guys were kind of poking and prodding, and I really enjoyed that one from a high level. It was interesting to see, for me, after this 2 years of building the story, what you know, what you don't know, what questions are still burning, and how relevant all of your discussion was. And like as a DM, Eric, you've been there on a long pair story picture. You never quite know what the players are or aren't picking up, what's getting
Yeah,
lost, what they're thinking of.
yeah,
But you guys are just right where I want you to be, and it's beautiful.
yeah. No, yeah,
You
totally.
guys, it's like I say this, truly and respectfully. You guys are an awesome DM party for the DM. You guys are the ideal players. It works out great for me. Like you
Except-
take notes, you gotta sit on the lore, you think about what it means. I drop all this information, and you guys are picking up on all these little nuggets. It's and letting a few slide just to make sure you're not getting everything. But it's really cool to see that you guys are actually fully engaged. Because I'll admit, there's another game that I'm playing, and I lost it. I'm gone. I have no idea what we're after anymore, or what's going on in the world, or where we are. I just struggle with it, and so I never certainly know it can go both ways.
We are a little chaotic, though. I mean, so as much as we are engaged, we're also a little chaotic.
Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful though. I mean, it's chaos within the big picture, which is great.
It's like a Jackson Pollock painting. You know what I mean?
No, so in that regard, it's good and a lot of fun for me.
All right, I got. Actually, you know what? E, what you got? You were saying you had a couple things. What you got?
So I don't know. This last battle really had me, and I'm not getting on Keegs about this or anything, but I gotta say I think the plant growth screwed us more than it helped us. After putting it in like the stats and everything, Griswold had one round where he actually did damage. And I'm not getting on Evan on this. There was one round where he actually was able to get into combat. Everybody was moving so much because of the plant growth. Our action economy was awful. Even Ryan, even Reed had only like, I want to say like maybe 4 attacks at the most, or maybe 5. And this was
I'm gonna mute real quick. Continue, please.
It worked out to be like 13 rounds of combat. And when you have giants that can hurl boulders and do 25 to 30 points of damage, and the best that we can do is a fireball here and there or firebolt, because even the short bows were too far. It I think that really hurt us.
It hurt our damage output, but at the same time, I think it was a decent defense. It was kind of like the element of surprise. They didn't expect it, so they kind of like backed off until they could adjust, and then it hurt us afterwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like the ongoing part. Like
Yeah.
I think initially it helped. Initially it helped us.
Exactly.
But once
it's a weird spell because you do it and then it doesn't go away. You're kind of stuck with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't really dispel it. It's there.
Yeah. However, on the flip side, those fog clouds were able to keep us hidden enough so that they couldn't really get to us with boulders. So
yeah,
it hurt us, and then at the same time, with the combination with the fog clouds, we were able to level out, but overall, it hurt us in damage.
Yeah, doing damage, yeah. And
sure.
It's just one of those. It's one of those. They can output more damage than we can output, and I can't. Like, just the heals were between me and Griswold. The heals was just there was just not enough there.
Yeah. I think in that last part, I know you went ape and you went forward. You went ape shit, as I like to say. I think maybe if you had held back that healing spirit, we could have danced around a little bit more. That would have boosted some healing. Maybe we would have got to them. But I think ultimately, Citadel by committee was able to push them back. My opinion. I know you and Evan wanted to do a fireball there at the end, but I think it was a firewall was the best decision.
All right, I'm back. Sorry, I didn't get to hear all of that discussion, but I love this line of thought because this was a very interesting battle to me.
It was, but plant growth.
Yeah, how much did you get there, G? Did you get
I
plant
got
growth?
your start of it with plant growth being more of a detriment than a help, and that looking at the stats, you guys didn't get to engage because you spent a lot of time chasing an action economy. And absolutely, I was thinking the same thing. And through both of those sessions, trying to wonder, this right off the bat, I thought this would be a brilliant move. You guys eliminated the ability for these guys to just charge
Mhm.
and hit hard, and I was like, ooh. As time went on, I was able to kind of
As
keep the
time went on.
party split, keep you guys disengaged, fire a rock back up, fire rocks back up. Althea could never catch up. Reed was fairly ineffective. Griswold just couldn't get there, and I was just taking you guys out one at a time. If I could have one flank, you guys were done.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Very true. Very true. Yeah.
I
Ultimately, I think what killed us with it was our inability to output damage to take them out.
yeah,
So
yeah.
It kept the fight delayed. It kept you guys safe, but it also did hinder you from being able to gauge. It became a very defensive-minded battle. With all the
Yes.
fog clouds, I mean, it was a lot of distractions spells in that warding area of effect spells. So it became interesting. If I had one more powerful spellcaster or two that had a little more range, could have been pretty tough.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was at the same time, you guys were up against far odds. Stretching it out did not hurt your case either. I mean, it allowed you to kind of pick them off slowly but surely, and in the end, you picked them off faster than they picked you off with a superior healing. So it did kind of work in your favor in a lot of ways.
yeah, towards the end we were outside of it. I would say it did a good job of startling and element of surprise, but the fog clouds were MVP in this one.
Yeah, yeah, they were. Yeah, they were. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
But going back to the whole, I was not. That wind speaker moving up to attack Adrin was like, that's gonna be the last thing that he does. Like this guy seems like he's a backliner, so I should be good here. I got cover, and then when he stepped forward, I was like, oh, was not expecting that at all. Damn it. Um, and that just screwed the pooch on that one.
It was very funny because I heard you say that your reaction to it, and I'm like, oh, boom, got him. Because to an extent, I was slow playing that Windkeeper. He's loaded with the glaive. He's not necessarily a backliner. He had a few stalling spells that he could throw out there. He wasn't really a powerful backliner. He was ready to attack, but he was very cautious to enter the battle. Throughout the entire thing was my plan, and then he came back into it and re-engaged from being off screen. And at that point, I said, all right, if these guys come, he's going at it. And sure enough, Adrin charges forward. And I'm like, ooh, here comes the pain.
Yeah, like I said, I was not expecting that. He ran away, and then he came back, and he kind of hung back there. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to move. All right, so that way next round I can get in, get a couple attacks in, and then back out. Nope.
Yeah. Definitely a different way to fight for us. Not necessarily bad, not necessarily good, just different. It was tough. I was going to bring it up in stats chat of Griswold's damage, and honestly, but on the flip side, I look at the damage taken, and I look at the amount of healing he did with
Yeah.
lay on hands, and it's like he spent a lot of turns just doing that stuff. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, he was. Yeah. I mean, I felt bad for him because between him and Althea, it was like they move.
I felt
man, we gotta
bad
move again.
for Ashley. I felt super bad for Ashley. I felt like she was playing catch up, and I told Garrett this already. I felt like she was chasing us, and I was like, man, I feel like if that were me, I'd be a little pissed off.
Yeah.
Was she using her bonus action though?
She was
using a bonus action to stealth every time. So she was trying to approach battle very conservatively, basically so she didn't catch up and get caught out there in the open, since she's a bit of a glass cannon, and that was her big fear, that if I overextend myself, I'm exposed. I'm out there, and I'm one rock away from obliteration. And so she, approach, slow, approach and hide, approach and hide. She was just waiting for that one opportunity to be caught up and engaged, and it just never came. You guys just kept circling around the plant growth.
Yeah, so plant growth comes into play there again. That we all had to funnel around that one direction, and as they tried to escape, we just kept and chased them, which means she had to chase us. So you cut off a huge portion of the field of battle, and you got to position well. I think that's the summary.
Yes.
And I think that's been our problem. I think in the fire giant fight we were well positioned, and I think that's why we did pretty good in that. But there's been a lot of the last couple of bad fights that we've had. We just are not in good position.
Hallelujah! I've been saying it.
Yeah, it's not even that you guys start out in bad positions. You guys position yourselves pretty well to start with. You think it through, you talk it through, and then immediately when you're in battle, it's just scatter. It's everyone goes their own direction. There is no rhyme or reason on a group basis. It's all individual, and it's interesting that I immediately
he cut out at the worst time.
Some splits, some areas that take advantage. Oh, did I cut out there?
Yeah, you cut out at immediately.
Oh yeah, and immediately as soon as you guys start battle, you guys go each individual direction, and I start seeing all kind of holes open up. I see where I can separate you, pull you away, and you guys, each person does the right thing. You guys engage accordingly, the biggest threat a lot of times, but not as a cohesive unit to the whole battlefield.
Right, it's kind of like how the Avengers would fight until New York, until what's his name died, right? And then they had to unify, and then the camera circles around them. That's what we need. We need that. Yeah. But at the same time, we're afraid to get that grouping because of Dragon Breath and because of a couple different AOE that were clustered crap.
Yeah. But like Adrian's always trying to stay close to Amrook. That's close enough to both Amrook and Griswold, because he knows that those two are going to take most of the hits, the blunt of the hits.
Which we will see in the stats is the truth. Although you know what, Adrian took a lot this time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he did. You got engaged there, and some of it by necessity. This is the first time. I mean, you had a couple. Everybody else was backliners. You had Warwick, Dildo. Yeah. Technically, Siddle was separated. Althea. You had half the group that were really heavy backliners. Reed kind of playing catch up too. It forced Adrian into that upfront role, which, as the monk in a closed space, would be pretty effective. But in this open battle with big hitters, that made it tough.
Yeah.
For sure.
And sometimes, against Hill Giants, I would have played that one pretty stupidly and charged. I got to play it a little bit more strategically with the Frost Giants, which was fun. I really got to throw some strategy out there. And, that made it enjoyable. You guys need a good ogre battle now. Dum Dum's just coming in with clubs that you just hammer in 2 hits, done.
Yeah.
I think we would overkill so much.
I know. Yeah.
I could see 1 HP Divine Smite. I don't care. I know it's wrong. I don't care.
Yep.
5th level Fireball.
Exactly. Yep. What else you got, Ish?
No.
That was the extent. Just going through all the stats, I'm going, there's a lot of move actions. I'm like, okay, Griswold, move. And I'm like, oh man. I think poor Evan had like 1 attack that whole out of 13 rounds. I think he had 1 attack. Maybe two.
I know he only did 21 points of damage. Which
then
when I saw that today, I felt bad.
Yeah.
So
and I think Ashley had 2.
29 points.
with Ice Knife, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think she had 1 other attack and she missed, yeah.
And Warwick had 29 points as well. So we had 3, I'd consider Althea a heavy hitter. I'd consider Griswold typically a medium to heavy hitter. And Warwick, although he is a lot of CC, he can hit pretty decent, and you pretty much nullified them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was tough. And before we get to the stats, I got one more thing I'm going to throw out there on an overall picture. This is something really been nagging me here for the last few weeks. I do want to apologize a little bit as DM, and I know you guys will say, ignore it. It was great, and this and that. But I'll admit, this battle felt a little uncomfortable to me, and I got to apologize for it for two reasons. One, it was a little bit of lazy DMing in that there was nothing really too new about it. I just kind of increased the number. I'll admit, I was still getting my feet under me a little bit for DMing after a 4-month break. So I got a little lazy there and didn't get to truly build the battle as fun as I would have liked. Just open territory, more giants, a few mephits and salamanders, but nothing really that you hadn't seen before. So I felt bad about that. And two, for the first time in this campaign, I felt like I really kind of forced the issue with the interaction of 3 more giants coming in from the north. I mean, it was in the plan that group of 6 did split off and break into 2 different groups. It wasn't the plan that these 3 were camped out after getting food, waiting for that group to gather and come down, but I definitely rushed it and didn't give you guys the real opportunity to scout it out in advance. I feel like Polly would have seen the giants to the north, and I railroaded a little bit, and I'm just, I feel icky about it, and I don't like it as a DM. So I'm gonna throw that out there that mea culpa, but I had to balance it last minute and run it out a little bit lazily. So that's on me. I could have just had you guys absolutely hammer it home, but then it would have been a little disappointing having Dildo and Harshnag, which was actually planned and coordinated pretty timely to meet up with those 3. But to balance out the fight, I didn't want to just, you come in, you knock out 3 giants without issue. Woo, Harshnag's here, no big deal. Sort of deal. So
I think we would not have known that you didn't plan it. I didn't know that you didn't plan it that way. I thought you planned it that way. And I think we built the terrain for you. So with the vines. So I think it worked out perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys certainly made the terrain interesting for me, so thank you for that. But I know you guys have been feeling bad that you guys did everything right planning for this one, and it's bothered me because you really did in a lot of ways, and I threw a bit of a wrench in it with the old DM lazy hammer, just tossing it in there. So that was on me.
Just think
you guys did good though. I was very proud of you coming into this battle and the way you approached it.
Just think about next time that we do plan perfectly and it actually works. We're going to be so excited. You know what I mean? Basically, you just built up more anticipation.
Which is good, as long as I'm not building down morale. I don't want to beat down morale here continuously. And after the Dasana, you guys were owed a couple nice morale builders.
Yeah, I think momentarily, I'll be completely honest. Split second, I was kind of like crap, but then after that, I was good. And I think Evan experienced that as well. I don't want to speak for Eric, but I was like, crap, we did everything. What else could we have done? But then after that, like everything kind of clicked and fell into place. It was just like we had to hold out a little bit longer. It was kind of like, and I may have talked about this before. It was kind of like Gandalf coming over the hill. You know what I mean? And it built up to that.
I don't know though. I gotta admit, I wasn't impressed with Harshnag as I thought I would be.
I mean, towards the end,
but
he started to.
You know what though? But again, he was kind of screwed because of the plant growth too. Because he only had like I think 2 melee attacks. He was just throwing boulders back too.
He was playing catch up as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might have gone a little differently if they were charging in and he was charging in. But I look forward to seeing him in the future battle because I think this was kind of all right, I have a shit ton of HP. I'm here. Let's do a little bit, but I don't want to outshine you. And next battle, I feel like he's really going to be like, all right, Amrook, I saw what you could do. Now you watch me. You know what I mean?
And that's hey, you guys hit the nail on the head. You're not impressed, but since we're talking as people, if you're saying Adrian's not impressed, that's one thing. If you're saying Eric's not impressed, So as Eric not being impressed, so Harshnag's character trait is that he does not like to outshine the rest of his group, and there is some background for that, and so he does kind of level out to the level of the rest of the group. And as you can see, he kind of tagged just behind Amrook in his shadow a lot of ways. Few strategically designed throws just to distract, place himself well. He held back a few attacks, the capabilities that he had, and he's damn near impregnable. He's a 23 AC or something. So he's a pretty strong beast to hit whenever he gets in close. Maybe it's not that high, but it's pretty high.
That does explain a lot then. Yeah.
So, hey, the Phandalin Phive has a hell of a reputation. You guys have built it up around it. He's heard of you. He's known the stories. And so coming in and kind of showing you up, throwing out, and, the way he sees it, hindering the fragile ego of small people is not something he wants to do. He spent a lot of time with different adventuring groups with varying degrees of success. And so he's got a lot of baggage here. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the battles in the relationship with the Phandalin Phive.
Nice.
Yeah, interesting.
All right, so thank you, G, but I'm still gonna give you props. Lore drop, it seemed planned. I think you're on point. Coming back after 4 months, I think you got nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing to feel
I know.
icky about.
Yeah.
It's all good. You guys make me look good. I'll take that every day of the week. But I had to throw it out there because it's really been nagging at me for about 3 weeks now that I had to drop it in there. Not my best of work. The lore drop and everything else worked out the way I planned, but just that Frost Giant battle was just not the alignment that I wanted, and I feel a little icky. So I appreciate it.
I think it's inevitable. We've been playing for 2 years, and that's the first time you feel icky. I think you got pretty good odds.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah. One more thing to talk about before we jump into stats chat, if you guys are okay with that. I know this one's going a little bit longer.
Please, I really. It's almost as much fun as the game itself. I love Echo Chamber when we start talking this strategy, this background, this theory, the analysis. That's the fun part to me.
I really enjoy it too. In fact, I was going to ask Eric, like, if he had this in some of the other campaigns that he DM'd, does he think things would be different? Do you think you would have done things differently? Like, if you knew what the players were enjoying, you knew what the players were picking up on, would you have developed the story differently? Would you have, tweaked battles differently? That type of stuff.
Oh yeah, I doing that currently with you guys. I totally shifted on the whole, hey, we're just gonna play a couple of dungeon crawls here and there to a couple different storylines, actual like player character storylines, and perhaps even possibly maybe slight chance of tying into the Phandalin Phive somehow.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
So here's my proposition for you, Garrett. I think you should do an echo chamber session with your other campaign, with your other group, and then that way the players can tell the DM how they're feeling, what they're picking up, and see if it's picked up on.
I think it's a good idea. I would recommend to anybody playing that at least one of these on occasion is awesome. And I know within friend groups, you talk about the game a little bit, but actually the structured approach that we have here in which you evaluate some of the decisions and how each person saw a situation going, I can't say how beneficial that's been to me DMing over the course of this campaign and allowed me to tweak things, drop lore back in that you may have missed, direct a hair, adjust fights. It's been so instrumental and valuable. I really do enjoy this. It's like it balances out the campaign. It's the other half of it. And maybe that's just our analytical mindset since we all approach things that way. We analyze, we reapproach it strategically, we analyze and repeat. But yeah, it's really been effective. So I might have to try it. I'll propose it anyways.
That's actually a good idea, Carl. I'd never even thought about it with like other groups I've played with.
Yeah, it's almost like you don't have to call it Echo Chamber. Obviously, I'd be more than willing to host it and stream it, though. No, but it's like a session 0 almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. It's a session, 1.5 plus N.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, but the other thing I wanted to mention, so Keegan doesn't watch the show, so I don't have to worry about him watching it. He did bring up to me that he felt like in battle, Amrook was a little OP, and so in my mindset, like I felt bad about it immediately because I never want to do that to other players and make them feel like, that I'm outshining them and anything like that. I'm kind of like Harshnag, I'll be honest. But as I look through the stats, it's really actually very balanced. It's odd how that perception actually works. Like because of one or two battles and you see what's
Yeah.
going on and you feel that way. And I got to admit, I felt this way about Cleek as Barry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I completely get that side of it, and I felt bad. And then I'm looking at the stats and how balanced it is. So if I ever make anybody feel like I'm trying to outshine them, I apologize. But I do think it is balanced.
I mean, I do too. I mean, I think each character definitely has their own skill set. That's unique to the group. I mean, I think it's one of those things. You take Citadel away, and there goes our magic damage. There goes our a lot of the DPS, if you like backline DPS. You take Griswold away, there's your tank, and and you take Warwick away, and there's your. I mean, for all intents and purposes, he's the crowd control. He's the face man. So there's a lot of stuff in combat that he does, or outside of combat that doesn't show up, like maybe doesn't seem as impressive or whatnot. But he's gotten us out of situation. He's also gotten us in situations probably, but gotten us out of situations by something somehow. So it's hard to look at just say, oh well, you do the most damage, therefore you're OP. It all depends.
Well, let me ask you then. If this was your game, you're looking at everybody's Eric as DM impartially. You're speaking in free and clean. Is there any actions or abilities or feats or anything within this party that you would say that you like? Ooh, that is a little OP in situations. I probably would tamp that down in my game.
Early on, I would say Healing Spirit, but as of late, no. Like it's almost like it's not enough anymore.
Yeah, exactly. As funny as it sounds, I think the one thing that I would be a little more a little bit more strict on is suggestion. Funny that it comes that you bring that up that way. That's the only thing that I would be like, I don't know if I would play it that way.
I think you've done a great job balancing that because a lot of times layer actions and things like that, you've been able to hold it back. I think Keegan, no offense, Keegan, you don't watch it anyway. He's kind of like our Sam Riegel, you know what I mean? He's just never going to watch it, and I know that. So he just is, I don't want to say stubborn, but he just keeps trying. You know what I mean? Like he's persistent with it. He's not going to stop until he gets it down pat.
It's almost like he's a sales guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it did work again on the ship, right? And that was a suggestion, if I'm remembering correctly. The on the ship, that was a suggestion that he got him to jump overboard and swim, right? Was it a suggestion or command?
That was command.
Command, yeah.
It was command. Okay.
It only lasted one turn, so it was command.
Yeah.
That's right. But yeah, it's interesting you brought that up, and that's the first thing that jumped into my mind whenever Carl and I had this discussion about who might be OP, because and this is my approach as the DM, or to take on it as a DM. At any given time, I've questioned whether one of the characters is OP. I'm like, oh man, he's definitely OP. And then another battle occurs, and I'm like, oh man, this character's OP. And then another time, it's like, oh man, Amrook's OP. And like I keep waffling on it, and suggestion was one of them where I was like, oh shoot, this is ridiculously OP, especially whenever you factor important. And I was like, wait a second, no, I'm good. I got ways to counter this on occasion, and there are times that I do, times that I don't, times it only works a single time or three. So I did do a lot of research on how to best not kill it, but make sure
Yeah.
it's managed along with the right way. But yeah, so it is. I'm glad you brought that up because that was absolutely one of my thoughts. And so the fact that that the one person that could also be considered OP is calling it OP, hey, that tells me it's balanced. If it kind of goes both ways, it's an even
Exactly.
seesaw.
That is a good way to look at it for sure.
Yeah.
So I love the question. I love that he brought it up. I continuously want you guys to be open and honest about areas that you guys think are just off in the campaign. It's given us an awesome opportunity to continue to balance things and keep it enjoyable for everybody. I don't think there are times I've been uber sensitive that I'm losing one group or the other, but no, ultimately everyone's been engaged at different points or another, and along the way, it's been awesome.
All right, with that, gentlemen, we won't make it too long, but it is time for Stats Check.
Yes.
You'll hear it coming through on your video here in a moment, but Stats Chat. All right, let's get into it because I want to talk about. We got a lot. So I want to start out with the attacking damage. We mentioned Griswold, Warwick, Althea. Their damage was cut by quite a bit, and some of that with Griswold, Warwick was because he was that auxiliary. He was giving us cover so that we didn't insta die from boulders. You know what I mean? In fact, one of the things which was crazy to me was the levitation of the boulder. And he did it once before, but that was just like perfectly planned, and I got to give Keegan props for that.
Oh yeah, that was perfectly planned.
Yeah, and because chances are Emmerich wouldn't have like died, but I think we only had like one or two healing spells by the end, so that got to save those. So it has a ripple effect.
I want to say I can't remember if it was levitate or one of his portent spells reversed a crit.
Yes, it was his portent.
Okay.
Ooh, what was it the portent on?
I probably have it marked somewhere.
It was the portent. So he attempted to do it on one, but because you had already announced the hit, he couldn't do it. And then he did it the next time, and you even said, "Are you sure you want to do it on the second one?" Because you were trying that host mentality. And he was like, "Yes, I do, sir. Thank you." And you're like, "Fuck you." I could feel it in the air.
Oh man. It was one of my best rolls too. Highest amount of damage with a crit. I think it would have been like 72 points of damage, something to that extent. It would have been brutal.
Yeah. So even that like is a ripple effect. So that not to harp on it, but to go back and I don't feel OP anymore because of look at how many times that he was able to fog cloud or stop you or convince you of something with a portent or like that.
Man.
Like his ripple effect to this battle was borderline MVP. No matter how much damage Amruk was able to output.
Mm-hmm.
Amruk would not have been able to do the damage if it weren't for that boulder save or if it weren't for the fog cloud. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's honestly become the toughest one for me to plan against. One point it was Adrin because of Adrin's versatility. I never knew what Adrin was going to do. He was constantly healing, shifting, adjusting. You had a counter for every one of my moves, and it's like, man, I can't get around Adrin. And early on, it was Griswold because he was so hard to hit, and then it was Amruk because he hits so many times and gets into battle in a heartbeat. And now it's Warwick. It's like, son of a, I can't get away from a fog cloud. I can't get a clear view. I can't think straight. I got nothing here. He's in my head and he's in my characters' heads. So it's interesting trying to plan for him.
Just imagine if we were fighting as a cohesive unit. Be a rough fight. That's all I can say.
Well, hey, that's someday that is going to converge on the big bad, and that will be the glorious moment of the Phandalin 5. It is all a learning experience along the way.
Very, very well said. Adrin, I do want to point out you did still 100 points of damage with that healing. You and Reed were pretty close, but I really was focused on Siddle here, which I know he threw out a fireball, which is one thing, and two fire walls, but at the same time he had over 200 points of damage and I felt like he was out of the battle. It was Siddle by committee, and we were protecting / moving him for almost half this past session.
He had 200 points.
He had
Holy
203.
crap!
203. Yeah. So
Firebolt hit a couple times. That he had a fireball. He did have a fireball early on.
mhm.
That took out like 3 or 4. Took out a couple of the frost salamanders and an ice
Yep.
mephit. So, yeah,
You know, it's
firebolt is no
perception
joke.
versus stats is so interesting because my perception was like, oh man, Citadel by committee was not effective this last couple battle. I feel bad. And then you look at the stats and it's like, holy crap.
Right?
My
I felt
perception's
the
always
same way.
off whenever you look until you look at the stats.
I felt
Which is awesome. That tells you that the stats are doing their job. You know, it's showing a whole different battle than we perceive. I love it.
I felt the same exact way. Like it's like an athlete going over their replay afterwards, and actually we did this right. We did this right. Here's
Yeah.
what we can get better on. But look at this. You know what I mean? It's crazy. And then I want
That's
to
it.
throw out the being attacked by. Even though Griswold was moving quite a bit, he was still able to get in good positions. I feel like he did a little better, everything considered, with the AOE on the ground. He was able to rush in, which. We hasn't been his strong suit in the past, but he was able to rush in,
Right.
and he took a crap ton of damage. The only
Yeah.
thing that we lacked a little bit there, and don't get me wrong here, we put out a lot of healing, is some sort of sustain.
Yeah,
Beyond,
and
yeah.
That's my one thing about Adrin as a healer. I've read, clerics are the ultimate healer. Then I thought, oh well, healing spirit's awesome. Druids got to be better. But you know what? Clerics are the healers. They really are, and they're good at it. There's so many things that they can do to boost their healing.
So
Whether
I
the domain you take, having Beacon of Hope. Beacon of Hope? I think that's what it's called.
Beacon of
Active.
Font of Life, something like that.
No, I think it's Beacon of Hope, where it's like whenever you cast a healing spell, it's automatically at max.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
That wasn't the one I was thinking, but yeah, you're right. You're right. But I feel
Yeah.
like Druid with Healing Spirit has a lot of early game healing that the cleric lacks,
Mhm.
and I feel like
Mhm.
post level 5, 6, cleric's
Yeah.
healing is like off the charts.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
We-
But I will also say, the decision that you made, Eric, to multi-class Adrin really affected that balance as well. I mean, with
Yeah,
Healing
it did.
Spirit being a concentration, how many times has it been mitigated that it wasn't previously, where you guys just had that
Yeah.
uninterrupted? Now that you
Right.
try to engage a little bit more, which is good. It makes Adrin more powerful and versatile of a fighter, but it definitely removes you as just the healer.
Right.
Yeah.
The other hard thing too is it's 2d6 healing, and at second level. If you cast a third, yeah, you can get 3d6. But you're trying to mitigate where a boulder is doing 25 points of damage. 3d6 just is, at 12, 15, something like that on an average is hard to mitigate.
Right.
Yeah, it's a band-aid.
On a frost giant that gets 2 swings and does almost or around 50 HP worth of damage. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But early level, because of what
Mhm.
what we were facing, like it's off the
Right.
charts, like I said.
Yeah.
I do want to say, Adrin, you took almost as much as Griswold damage-wise. You took 107 points of damage. Griswold took 124. I thought that was crazy, and I wanted to couple that with the amount of kills Adrin got, because I mentioned he still got 100 points of damage. He was the second highest killer as well, which I mean I feel like Adrin was pretty balanced here. He was.
I had a couple of those methods because I knew they were going to be. Those needed to go right away because they're not going to do damage, but they're going to be annoying as hell.
Yes.
So
I like them for that reason.
Yeah. I wanted to get those down as quickly. That's why he ran right after the one, because he was like, okay, I know they're weak, but yeah.
I'll be honest, I wasn't going after them at all because I knew that whole explosion thing. And nope, melee is not an option there. So I was leaving that for you guys, and I was just trying to get in to keep from some boulders flying at you.
Yep.
So I think we did a good job with that. Griswold did a good job with that. He may have faltered a little bit. He got a little scared, but he came back in and did a good job with that.
Yeah.
You know what? If it's interesting playing from the opposite side. I'll throw this out there too. Griswold, even when he wasn't engaged, was really strategically positioned every step of the way. That I couldn't quite get around him. I couldn't justify going elsewhere. He played that position well this time, that he absorbed the focus in a lot of ways. And I couldn't justify most of the time to go after some of your weaker players. You know, there were a few times I wanted to go after Adrian, or I could see Warwick, and it's like, oh, but Griswold is looming high right in the middle of the field, strategically placed appropriately. It's like, I got to go after him. No way around it.
For sure. Just jumping to the healing real quick, I want to throw this up there. I think if we could jump over here, healing, we did 150 points of healing total between potions, between second wind, between healing spirit, and plenty of what were they, healing words and stuff. 17 points of healing word. I think that was like 4 cast of healing word. And lay on hands to throw that in there as well. 150 points of healing, and then if we come back to that encounter and see, I mean, obviously mostly Adrin, but Griswold with his lay on hands and then some potions and stuff. I mean, if we had a little bit more sustain, like I said before, I think we would be, G Money would be in trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I know.
So, who can we bring in that would play a level 9 cleric? Just kidding. We'll get there.
Put down. No.
and then, so that was this past session, and then what I was talking about for the balance is the funnel chart does make Amrook and Siddle look OP. So I get that aspect. But then, we start to look at kills, we start to look at types of damage, as well as, damage absorption and stuff like that. I just cannot help but think, like, this is actually really well balanced. I'll throw it out there. Siddle and Amrook are now in the 2K club. Oof. After that, right?
Jumping quick now.
Right.
5K, here we come.
That's Amrook's goal next Sunday. Yeah. Like I said, that funnel chart does make their damage look OP, but again, their damage is impossible without everything else that's going on. So, I just...
Hey, you're a wizard and a fighter, two of the most potent damage dealers in the game. But yeah, if you look at all of the other aspects of it that show up elsewhere, you're absolutely right. It's balanced around the globe.
Yeah. If we look at the being attacked by, Griswold's he is 12 points shy of being 1K damage taken. I thought that was pretty cool. Emmerich not too far behind him. He's like 41 or something. But nonetheless, being 12 points away from 1,000 damage taken with an 80% dodge rate, like, you have to be throwing everything and the kitchen sink at him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a roll there. I mean, it's like looking at football stats, I would say. As I'm thinking about it more, the QB is always going to have the most passing yards and offensive yards.
Yeah.
As your running back, they're your studs. But the defensive players of the years, the sacks and everything else, you can't overlook that. Those are huge difference makers.
Yeah. So, just really cool to jump in here into the stats. Adrian, I think we celebrated this last time we did stats. You're over a K in healing.
Nice.
I don't remember if we did, so I
crap.
1207 in healing done, and this is only since we started recording at level 6. So this is like 3 levels of healing. Now, granted, at lower levels we don't have as much HP to heal, but at the same time, that's pretty cool. 3 levels basically. Well, I'll give you 3.5 of recorded stats that you've done over 1,200 points of healing. That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
Yep.
So I've thrown the kitchen sink at Griswold, hit him with everything I had, and Adrian's gone ahead and healed all of that and then some.
Yeah,
Instantly gone.
just be glad we don't have a Mordai. You know what I mean?
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Although Warwick's quickly becoming that. I'm starting to feel a little threatened in my chaotic role.
If Warwick takes Inspiring Leader, we're good. That's what I'm hearing.
This is very true. That's a brutal one. Although less and less so. That 12 points doesn't become as significant anymore at 9th level.
We'll see. We'll see. Jumping over to killed creatures as well as dropped NPCs. Congratulations to Griswold and Adrin now topping the charts. We don't count Frank. Sorry, Frank. But
Oh.
Griswold has now been down 6 times, followed by Adrin at 5 times, followed by Warwick and Amrook at 4 times. No, sorry, Warwick is tied for 5. I got that wrong. Warwick and Adrin are tied for 5. Amrook's down at 4. So
That's not a good thing to have your main healer go down.
the 2 main healers, because I consider Griswold with Lay on Hands our secondary main healer, just because he has such a big pool to give. Whereas like, not that Warwick doesn't have Healing Spirit, it just Healing Spirit's what, like maybe maximum of 12 points of healing.
I mean
Healing word. Sorry, yeah. So
yeah, if you cast a 3rd level, I don't think he has Cure Wounds, which is a D8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I consider you two the biggest healers, but you're also the ones that have gone down the most. Very coincidental. So basically, you guys are going down and then healing each other.
How we've lasted this long is questionable.
It's certainly not from lack of trying on my part.
I thought this was a cool one. Siddle is almost at 30 kills. So that's pretty cool. Like, 30 kills. Like, at first I saw that and I was like, that's not that many. And then I was start thinking about it. Well, when you think of like 2-3 average monsters per encounter, 30 kills is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, especially considering he hasn't had that, 14 skeletons in a dungeon kill. He does have to get them at 2 or 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we are fighting over kills a lot of times, whereas in the other campaign, we have a couple main killers. The rest of us are support. In this one, we have 5 people over 20 kills, or 20 kills or more. You know what I mean? So pretty spread out there. So to have 30, I think is pretty cool. One last thing I wanted to look at was the buff, because I wanted to mention Keegan with the fog clouds, with a couple CCs. He also was doling out that bardic inspiration, so I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. Amrook was able to use it. He was tossing it out there. Then throw in that levitate boulder. Oh, I'm telling you. Help me out. What does Vow of Enmity do? I know he used it, and I saw it on the buffs, but I'm not really sure what it does.
Griswold. I'm trying to remember now.
I'm blanking.
Trying to remember. I want to say
question to be answered.
Yeah, I'm completely blanking on it.
You know what?
Nope. Don't tell him. Let's put it down. If you know it in the put it down in the chat. Put it down in the comments. If you know what Vow of Enmity does, we're not going to answer it in this session. Put it down in the comments. All right. Don't tell. Stop.
He gets advantage.
Oh, you son of a. All right. Pause the video. Put it down in the comments before this moment. Anyway. I think that's it for Stats Chat, unless you guys have anything in specific you'd like to look at. We went over healing, we went over damage, we went over kills. it was. I know you feel bad and icky, G, but overall, as I'm looking at the stats, I'm still impressed. I'm a little bit more impressed that we're still alive, but at the same time, I'm impressed.
Hey, you guys went toe to toe against 6 Frost Giants and some minions. That is nothing to scoff over.
Carlin, what's fun is if you bring up the all encounters here for the damage output,
Yeah.
to see all the uh, all the creatures that we have fought.
Yes.
No. Go back to the the other one, the all encounter, no,
The
the other
killed
tab that
creatures?
you're on. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot of creatures that we've experienced. That's a good way to
And,
keep track of it too. I like that.
well, I
Ooh.
like I like the amount of damage done to what frost giants versus like everything else.
You know what? I looked at it earlier. That's the damage overview. Give me one
Yeah,
sec. Yep. Nope. I looked at it right here. I know exactly what you're talking about because I was going to bring it up and I forgot. So after
yeah.
this session, Frost Giants have taken the lead for the most amount of damage that we've done to one specific enemy at almost 1,400. 1,400 points of
Wow.
damage, and
Ooh.
we've only encountered frost giants what, 2 maybe 3 times if you don't count the boat, because let's just not talk about the boat.
Oh, that's funny. So what's second on the list right now? I
Uh,
can't see
I
it, so
think
you gotta.
I
bugberry.
would assume. Oh, it's still bugbear. I thought it was going to be
Oh,
Are you
or
kidding
fire
me?
giants.
Holy
439.
hell!
So we go from 1,400 to the next level is 400. So we have
because we fought
Oh
so
1,000
many.
wow.
damage more than anything else. That's awesome.
See, that's where I feel icky. Too many frost giants coming at you. I gotta drop this.
I think it's the frost giants have too much HP. I don't think it's too many frost giants. Frost giants have an enormous amount of HP, and so that's just the amount of damage we have to do.
Yeah,
Likewise, if you look at like the Onis, we've only encountered 2 Onis, but they're almost as much as bugbears. They're at 420, 425? Yeah, 425. So bugbears at 439, Onis, which we've only fought 2 of, are at 425. You know what I mean?
All right, very interesting.
Yeah. I definitely I'm glad you brought that up, Eric, because I saw it earlier. I meant to bring it up, but really cool stat right there. And I did look at the killed creatures because I think that's an awesome way to keep track of what we have encountered. So if we ever have to
yeah,
say,
yeah.
do we know what an ice method is? You can come back here and say, yes, we do.
No, that's actually pretty cool. I didn't think about that. I got the ongoing list, but this is an
Yeah,
awesome way to keep
I have
track of it.
I have one I have one too in Adrian's journal. Like anytime we see like a new creature or whatever, like ooh, write that one down.
Yeah.
It's
I got
good. Yeah.
I gotta admit, I'm not the greatest note taker. I have a OneNote. I have 2 notepads, and I have notes everywhere because I'm taking notes for like this session as well as other things, and so I'm not the greatest at it. I'm not making excuses, but I did love how much Evan was into the lore drops and was answering stuff. I thought, you know what? If I would not have guessed Evan would be like on point with some of what he was doing or what he was
Uh
bringing
huh.
up, and he was.
Yeah, yeah, he was.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. All of you were. They were all spot on. It was beautiful.
But all right, with that, I think we're going to end. We're almost at an hour and 20 minutes. Thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to leave that comment about the vow of enmity. In the as soon as this hits YouTube, go ahead down to the comments, and we'll see you Sunday.